talking about God is always something that requires interpretation. We never get to the end of it. And in that way, theology is a complex activity. But as soon as you put complexity and theology together, it can sound as if we're heading down a pathway to theology as a fairly obscure activity, one conducted by people in their ivory towers, and that is very much separated from the lives of real people. And of course, the great insult that's often directed at theologians is that they spend their time worrying about how many angels can dance on the head of a pin. Even though no one's ever been able to find that that was actually a real problem, even in medieval theology, nonetheless, the accusation remains there that theology is obscure. So part of what this series will need to do is show how not just theology connects to real life, but how everyone can actually engage, at least in some degree, in the practice of theology. And in order to do that, of course, we need to keep clarifying our understanding of what it is we're talking about. And that's, again, the task of this presentation. So what we're going to explore are 5 definitions of theology and try to unpack each one of them as a way of building up a profile of what theology is. It's worth pointing out as I begin that what I'm dealing with is theology in the Christian tradition. Theology, of course, is proper to all religious traditions. All religious traditions have their own way of doing their theology that comes out of their own sources and their own tradition and their own understanding. So that grappling with the mystery of God is universal to all those who do believe in God. And so we're going to be looking at it explicitly then through its Christian dimension. So let's start with the first definition. This one comes from a document that was published in 2012 by the International Theological Commission. The International Theological Commission is an official body of the Catholic Church. It's an authoritative document. It's not part of the Church's teaching office in an exclusive sense, namely it's not the role of the bishops, but it's a body that joins together theologians and bishops from all over the world. So it's authoritative and its documents are certainly ones worth taking notice of. So in 2012, they put out a document called Theology Today in an attempt to try and just look at where theology is 50 years after the Second Vatican Council. So my opening definition comes from that document. And in the document they say this: theology in all its diverse traditions, disciplines and methods is founded on the fundamental act of listening in faith to the revealed word of God, Christ himself. So again, theology in all its diverse traditions, disciplines and methods is founded on the fundamental act of listening in faith to the revealed word of God, Christ himself. The key point there is that theology is always a response to God's action. It's a response to this word of God that we believe has been spoken in our history. So the International Theological Commission portrays theologians as primarily listeners, that their first task is to be attentive to the word of God. And in that, of course, theologians are not unique. One of the points I'll make as the series develops is that all of us are called to be listeners to that word of God. And so to that degree, we have the basis for everyone being a theologian. Listening in faith, as the document says, is the task of the theologian, also underscores the connection between theology and faith. And that topic will be a specific focus as well in our series. And indeed, the relationship between theology and faith will be a recurring one that we'll explore. It's also a reminder to us that listening in faith, the link between theology and the life of faith expressed particularly in worship. And in fact, the Church's liturgy has traditionally been referred to as the first theology. It's the place where we express what we believe about God. So that's another point that we'll develop as we go along. Turning to the second